So, welcome back guys to another video, and I thought for this video I'd do a little discussion with you guys and ask you guys, has there ever been a game or console that's made you eat your words? Now what I mean by that is, I'm guilty of it. I think a lot of us are, and I think it's just because we're so passionate about the hobby. But we can be very opinionated, we can be very stubborn, and there might have been a game that came out or a console that came out that just rubbed us the wrong way, and we just wanted to have no part in it. You know, we would even tell our friends, you know, oh, don't bother with that game, don't bother with that console, it's trash, it's stupid. I've had that happen to me before, and I've been proven wrong. And what I want to actually talk about is a console. Now, that console is the Nintendo GameCube. And let me explain this, because I know a lot of people love the GameCube, and a lot of people are like, what the hell? But you guys gotta understand is, you know, I was a lot younger. I was like about 13 or 14 years old, and I was in that generation, and I got the PlayStation, the original PlayStation 1, and I loved it. I thought it was something very new to gaming, and it was. And while I loved the Nintendo and I loved Sega, I was kind of like looking back in my rear view mirror, you know, kind of driving away from it and moving on to the PlayStation, because, I mean, to be frank, the N64 and the Sega Saturn didn't offer what I was expecting from these like companies I grew up with. I felt kind of betrayed. They didn't have what I was looking for, where PlayStation had, you know, so many RPGs. It had like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil and, you know, Final Fantasy VII, you know, stuff like that that just completely blew my mind. So when the N64 came out, I was curious about it. I didn't like the controller, so N64 was just behind me. The Sega Saturn unfortunately didn't get the publicity that it needed, especially in the States. The Japan library is so much better. So when, you know, the next generation was coming and I heard about the GameCube, I just wasn't all about it. I got myself a PlayStation 2 around the time that it launched, and I loved the PlayStation 2 so much, but a very weird thing happened. My PS2, because it was a launch PS2, if you guys remember, a lot of the early models had a lot of laser problems, and my PS2 actually died. It was no longer reading the blue disc anymore. And you know, being 14 years old, and you know, I was too young to work. I was stuck with my classic consoles. I was stuck with my, you know, NES, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis, and I enjoyed it. And I would go to my sister's house with my now ex-brother-in-law, and he was a game collector, and he loved Nintendo. He loved Nintendo so much. He was actually working on having a complete N64 collection. This was back in, you know, the early 2000s, like 1999 even, and yeah, he was getting it up there. And you know, this is back when retro gaming was nowhere near what it is now. But I remember we were playing the N64 and stuff, and you know, I was really wanting to play some new games, and we were at the mall, and I went into an EB, and I was like, I want to get a GameCube. And I had traded in my PS2 at the time to EB Games, even though it was broken. They still took it. I was kind of shady with that. So I had some trading credit. I ended up buying a used GameCube, and wow, talk about eating crow. Man, the GameCube was just something I had never thought. It reminded me why I love Nintendo so much. I remember us getting the GameCube, bringing it home, and you know, the first thing I noticed was the controller. The controller was so comfortable, you know, especially compared to the N64. It was definitely a step up. I loved the way the controller felt in my hands. The only thing I didn't like about the GameCube controller, and I think a lot of people can agree with, is the D-pad. The D-pad is very small, it's very sharp around the edges, very similar to the Dreamcast. But other than that, the analog stick is still to this day my favorite analog stick. I love the GameCube controller, and we were playing games like Super Smash Bros. Melee, and we played that game so much and so much during the night. I remember that was one of the games I actually fell asleep with the controller in my hand, us trying to get all these trophies and unlock all these characters. And I love the portability of the GameCube, the little handle. It was like the one console that you could have and wear a suit and look like you mean business, you know, in a funny way. But I remember playing that, probably one of my favorite Mario games, and people either love it or hate it, but playing Mario Sunshine and just being completely blown away by the graphics on it. The water effects it had was just amazing. And man, I'm telling you, the more I played it, the more I was like, man, I really like the GameCube. It had such a fantastic library, and you know, it's a lot of the reasons why I love the Wii and the Wii U, in the sense that Nintendo, you know, some people look at the GameCube as a failure because it didn't have a whole lot of games, but carrying that Nintendo suit, it's always about quality instead of quantity. I mean, the GameCube may not have as many games as the PS2, and I'm not knocking the PS2. PS2 is probably one of the best consoles of all time. It's amazing. It's got so many great games, but what the GameCube had was really something special. I remember playing games like Tales of Symphonia. It's probably one of my favorite Tales games. It was my whole introduction to the series, and it was just something else. And then, you know, I got the Game Boy player that I could play Game Boy Advance games and other Game Boy games on my big screen television. That was fun. And also connecting my Game Boy Advance, and we would play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles together, and it was really something special, and it made me have a lot of different video game memories. And yeah, when it taught me something that, you know, don't always judge a book by its cover. In this case, a game or console, definitely give things a chance, definitely have an open mind, because if I stayed closed-minded, I would have missed out on so many gems that were on the Nintendo GameCube. And my Nintendo GameCube actually died a couple of months ago. That GameCube I got that day, and I bought another GameCube from my local retro store because I was just like, yeah, I have to have a GameCube in my collection. There's so many great games and so many Dreamcast ports as well that I played on the GameCube before I had a Dreamcast, like Sonic Adventure and Ikaruga and stuff like that. Skies of Arcadia, so much great stuff. And I would love to see GameCube games on the Virtual Console and the Wii U. That would just be amazing. But yeah, guys, I wanted to do that little discussion. Ask you guys, what are some games or consoles that made you eat your words? Kind of made you step back and be like, maybe I was a little wrong about that. Definitely leave a comment below. And also, guys, if you haven't, be sure to subscribe to my other YouTube channel I just started. I started a vlog channel, XS Talking. It's just a bunch of randomness. It really is. It's a bunch of stuff that's on my mind, but I'm also going to be covering TV shows, movies, anime, doing music covers, and random rants, whatever. It's a no-holds-barred channel. So if you guys want to check that out, click on the link on the description below, and be sure to subscribe to that as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.
Can't get enough of XS Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on Podomatic.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.